Congressman Lance Gooden is a member of that committee. He joins us now. Congressman, thanks for being here. What can this really do? I mean, what's the committee looking for here?
Well, just this week, the committee led by Chairman Jim Jordan issued a letter to the district attorney there in Atlanta asking for documents that reflect any correspondence or working with Prosecutor Jack Smith or the executive branch in any way. They also want to know how federal funds that office has received have been spent, because what this investigation has led us to believe is that it is politically motivated. In the very long letter that the district attorney received this week, we referenced some of the things that she references in her indictment, some of the things that she said furthered this criminal enterprise, such as Mark Meadows requesting the phone number of the Pennsylvania House Speaker. Very common things that chiefs of staff to a president may do, ask for a phone number, things that have to do with federal duties that really have no business in any kind of criminal prosecution. But these are things that she should have been aware of when she decided to go down this path, that there would be oversight of her prosecution, and that's what we intend to do.
So if you find, I guess you could call it collusion between the DOJ or Jack Smith and this DA, then what happens?
Well, I suspect we'll give her until September 7th. That was the deadline on the letter. I don't know if she will be willing to comply with that or not. We'll see what happens on the 7th. That's just a few weeks away. From there, we can move to subpoenas. We can move to bringing witnesses in before the committee and really ramp up the oversight process. But I'll give her the benefit of the doubt until September the 7th with respect to getting us the very simple documents that we've requested.
But to that point, Congressman, what is the end result of Congress's oversight of a prosecutor in Georgia? Like, what can you do? Can you talk about the power of the purse? What is accountable?
Some of the argument is that this has nothing to do with federal oversight, but there are very serious federal implications with this prosecution. There are very serious questions about the motivations behind this. As you know, she put up a website just a few days before coming out with this indictment, bragging about going after President Trump. This investigation started back in 2 years ago, and she's waited until President Trump is back in the political race. She's requested a trial date for near Super Tuesday next March. And so there are so many questions that people have that with respect to whether or not this is political. But back to that question about what can Congress do when we have such federal implications with respect to this, with respect to a president worried about doing his job if a state court is going to come after him even after he leaves office. This is what congressional oversight is all about. And so as this progresses, I think the end result will be much more information coming out that the American people can use to make very important decisions next year.
That correspondence that you're requesting of potential communications between Fani Willis and Jack Smith, right, who's the special prosecutor, would that by necessity be bad? It shouldn't sometimes prosecutors compare notes so that you're not double charging or something? I mean, or could it be that not communicating is bad? What's your takeaway?
Well, I think the thinking is that the federal Justice Department is there to go after federal crimes. And what is it that she's going after? If she's coordinating with the feds, then that's something that I think that needs to be made known. I think the political the implications with respect to why she's pursuing this, the fact that this fundraising is going off of this, the fact that the Fulton County judge has already removed her from going after other state officials because of her political ties to, I believe, the lieutenant governor there. Why did they not have this problem with respect to President Trump and her very obvious political leanings? These are just questions that I believe will come out in the coming months. I believe it's important that the American people know. And if this is all about justice, then I suspect that the district attorney would have no problem with oversight and making sure this information comes out.
Congressman, what's your message to Americans who are really frightened right now? They're seeing an opposition leader jailed, like Latin American style, or mugshotted and indicted, and possibly having to run from jail if he becomes the nominee, which seems likely. What's your message to them? Because they don't believe that this is just about Donald Trump. Most Americans, half the country, certainly people who identify as conservatives, believe that this system is being weaponized against them. They're worried about being deplatformed. They're seeing that happening to conservatives, financially speaking, from banks. They're worried about, being censored by big tech media companies. They're worried about the government being weaponized against them. What is your message to them? Because truly, the Republicans in Congress are the only voice they have in this government.
Well, first of all, elections matter. If it weren't for this very small margin of lead that we had in the last cycle in the House, where would we be today? What powers would we have? It's very terrifying. I filed a lawsuit against the county of Dallas in the last election cycle because they were cheating. I alleged that they were cheating. I had evidence that they were. And I'm waiting to get indicted by Fani Willis for my actions. If, as an elected official, I cannot speak up when there's an injustice because of fear of prosecution, then what country do we live in? And I would say to the American people and to those who are fearful of what they're seeing, you've got to focus on the next election cycle. You've got to support your members of Congress and know that we're doing all we can on the Republican side in the House. But winning the next election and winning back the White House is critical.
All right.
Congressman Gooden, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And it's a good reminder, remember our good friend G. Van Fleet.